cost for the contract.
Yeah, we had a very shallow system design. We had to go much deeper to get under the utilities. There's a lot of utilities crisscrossing each other up there. And the only way we could get through was to go under, which required them to shore the trenches, whereas the original design did not have shore trenches, it was less than 5 feet deep. And then they had all the additional excavation to go that deep. And that cost quite a bit of money, especially up there on the hillsides and with the material that they were getting out.
Again, I can't comment on what the original plans were versus what they weren't. Obviously, that information isn't here. But from the write-up here, it looks like, to me, and the way it's written, and maybe it's not clear, but it looks like there's a substantial amount of money that somebody made a mistake, not us. And I'm not sure that we should be, I'm not saying we need to be held fully harmless on it, but I think that we shouldn't be bearing all the burden. And I suggest that we actually look into this a little bit more and see if we can't recover some of this, because I think $253,000 to $89.55 is a big number, especially given the financial situation of the town.
But if I understand you correctly, the redesign for the relocation, they're not bearing charges for. But to the extent that if we had known where they were in the first place, it would have been a much more expensive design in any event, that we're going to have to pay for. So it's different from Selby, where we had the delay and the asphalt increase in price. But you can separate out the cost of the redesign for the much more detailed, deeper system versus their original design. You can just write off their original design costs on this. And you can see that, and you can actually specify that?
Yes, I actually required the consultant to go back and revise all of their invoices to show us what every hour on the invoice was spent doing. And then our engineer went through those invoices and determined which ones were related to this design change and which were related to something else on the project that was our normal construction support, like reviewing the submittals and things like that we have them do. And we basically told them, we want revised invoices that don't include those things.
So is that reflected in these costs?
Their charges are not in these costs.
Okay.
This is only the contractor's charges.
So we'll be getting a refund from them?
We will basically, I haven't paid the invoices. I put all the invoices in a file and refuse to pay them until they're corrected.
But if we'd known where the pipes were in the first place, Duncan, the contractor would have bid to do the job, right, with a specific amount of money. Is that correct? And therefore, we would have been able to either approve or not approve doing that amount of money. And that would have been, as far as I'm concerned, would have been an acceptable situation. But when we bid on a contract, and when we find we're $305,000 over it, that doesn't seem correct to me.
Well, those things happen in construction. They're out there, with all their equipment out there, opening up the street to put in the drainage system. They have not gone over their contract price yet, and in order to complete the job, we need to get some more funding in order to complete the street. We've held off on reconstructing Ridgeview and Fletcher for several years while we got this drainage project underway, and the street is in dire need of being completed.
I know, it's a hell of a mess.
Could we ask the city manager to make a comment on what his thoughts are on this, and whether or not it would be worthwhile for at least auditing these? And
well, if it gave the council additional comfort, that I'd be happy to take a look at it. City attorney perhaps could take a look at it too in terms of the cost. But I see the difficulty that's involved here is you're not being charged for the original work, and as you, Mayor, have indicated, you are going to find out that, hey, by the way, this is a much more expensive project than you thought, but as a result of how it's gone, you're being kind of forced to go into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I hate.
I kind of wonder what your options are. If so directed by council, we would certainly be happy to review these and bring it back to you. I don't know, is there a timing issue here, Duncan?
Definitely a timing issue, and we're getting into the construction window where we're planning to start the contractor, on May 1st. If we, have sufficient budget in the project to start it again.
Do you have any comments?
Well, I think we might get the project done. I think we can't have that project going on. I'd be in favor of going ahead and authorizing with proviso that the city manager and the attorney take a look at things and hopefully find some upside for us that might lessen the amount that we actually have to pay. But I think we have to go ahead and perform on this.
Elizabeth?
It's a staggering amount of money, and when you look at it as a quote-unquote change order, you immediately think, somebody somehow is really, hoodwinking us, not telling us the truth. It just, raises all kinds of red flags. And you think, like Vice Mayor Widmer said about the consultant, he's got to be to blame because he didn't find the pipes, but there. But if he's not charging us for the redesign, and it would have cost us this amount anyway, there's no doubt about it. This area needs to have these drainage pipes put in. It's that whole thing is a big mess, and I know how construction prices can skyrocket. When you say that the contract has expended $908,000 to date, less than the contract amount, is that what I'm understanding? Or $908,000 less than the contract amount? The change orders needed to complete the street reconstruction portion. So,
There's a comma there, that's the amount they've spent, and it is less than the current
Okay.
contract amount.
all right, because the original contract amount was for $1,174,000.
The original authorization.
And they've spent
Okay.
900, so.
Okay, I agree with Councilmember Carlson that we're going to have to authorize it and then direct the city manager to work with maybe the city attorney and see if there really were any illegalities or any other ways that we can.
Under culpability or?
Culpability, right.
We're just a
Liability, right.
It's a liability.
Uh-huh.
Can
But I think we've got to get,
we make a motion on that basis?
yes, I'll make a motion on that basis.
Okay.
Point of clarification there, Duncan, was it really the consultant who failed to see that these were not marked? Or was it PG&E who didn't mark them and didn't have the right depth?
Well, the consultant had a utility locator service that worked together with all the various utilities to determine where their facilities were.
It's called USA, right? Or,
No, they do, they're supposedly do more extensive
oh,
work than USA. When the contractor gets ready to dig, he then calls USA, and, the utilities came out and marked, and then he goes and he potholes where, he's got where the plan shows and where the utility marking shows. What he actually found was neither one of them was correct. That, he had to dig a couple of times in order to find the accurate utility.
So neither one of those. Oh,
And,
okay.
I've heard some people that, because there were so many utilities in one place, that some of these locator things get distracted somehow by the others. We have the plans from PG&E and from Cal Water and all that, but they're somewhat schematic.
Yep.
They don't
It
show.
wasn't exactly his fault.
okay.
Are there any public comments on this item?
Oh, we have a motion.
We'll have public comments.
There's a motion on the table in a second.
Yeah,
Sure.
so I'm home here, I live up on Sutherland Drive, and I've been living in the middle of that mess for the last 3 years. So I just came to implore you to please pave the street, because that's the last step to be done at this point. And that's all I have to say.
All right, we have a motion to approve this contract change order for Gallagher & Burke for the Fletcher Drive, Ridgeview Drive pavement and drainage improvement project, project number 56033 in the amount of $305,108. Do we have a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
There was a, thought we were amending
amend the.
Well, we're gonna make this subject to a review by the city manager.
How many people need a motion? 18.
On an item number 18, the city manager requests that item number 18 be amended to modify to delete $50,000 from the parcel tax survey for the park survey.
I also had asked to make a comment on this, Mr. Mayor. And my comments are very similar to item number 11, with making some changes to further protect the town and get what the proposal is actually offering us, make sure that we do, as we did in changing the professional services agreement, and similarly work with yourself, John and Bill to try and make sure that we get that done, and we can do that very quickly.
Any other council members? Any public comment? Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve this as amended by the city manager's request. All in favor? Aye. Next item is item number 23. And item 23 is
23 or 25?
23, which is also going to be modified so that this is going to be modified so that the whole Brook-Hammer survey is basically going to be charged, I believe that's what you mentioned. Item 23 is we're going to limit it in scope to approving the professional services providers as described. We request that no contract be awarded. The item has two parts. One action is to approve a list of qualified surveyors. The other is to award a contract to survey the park.
So we're deleting part two.
We're deleting part two.
I move we approve item number 23 to approve the list of surveyors.
I second it and highly endorse that we're bringing in an additional survey.
Okay. Are there any public comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Next one was item 25. This was pulled by request by microphotography, and they are here tonight, so I will ask you to present your position.
Thank you. Am I limited to 3 minutes?
Yes,
Can I have additional time?
you can.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Gary Lindberg. I am representing microlithography, for short we call MLI, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk or allowing me to present my information. This City Council staff report recommended that this claim be denied for the damages that we have submitted. While the homeowners may or may not have signed any agreement or handbook to maintain their property, I submit to you that the City of Atherton still has responsibility for the damages in our claim, and I want to try to explain why. I have 4 points I would like to make. First, the city has a responsibility to maintain law and order within the city limits, as you know better than I. Any pedestrian or driver on the city streets have the right to walk or drive on those streets safely and protected. That's the public or city's responsibility to provide for the public safety. Now, what happens if there's an accident which results in injury to someone who walks on the sidewalk? Would that injured person sue the owner of the house? Or would the injured person sue the city? I suggest to you that, of course, they would sue the city. Now, in this case, we have trees that were low overhanging over public property, the streets of Atherton. Our company employee drove our rented truck on the city streets